Hi everyone. It is August 9th, which is a Saturday, and I just came back. Well, sorry, August 8th would have been a Saturday, and today is a Sunday. I'm recording this at 1 a.m. Yeah, 1:15 a.m. Because I just had gotten back home. So, one thing I've kind of been coming to realize is that and this might sound really weird, but in high school, I was someone that was very charismatic, and I didn't really let other people's energy and the way they've kind of lived their life and their mantras affect me personally, right? So my if someone were to characterize me, it's like, oh yeah, seems like very happy, but mainly charismatic guy, which, I brought new ideas to the table. I wanted to do things in a, unconventional way because I just felt everything else was boring and I always felt there was room to improve. And even if that was with great intention, a lot of it was naive and sometimes I would get demotivated because I was going about things the wrong way, right? And what I've come to find in myself is that a lot of people actually are deeply motivated by the way I carry myself when I'm very charismatic and actually understand what I'm doing. And that is actually one thing that I need to start doing for myself, which is I want to be a lot more charismatic to me. I want to be charismatic about the way I work. I want to be charismatic about the way I wake up, about the way I go to the gym. Just 24/7, just full charisma. And, obviously that is completely unreasonable, right? We feel sadness, we feel doubt, um, we feel ego, we feel anger, we feel all of these different things. But I think that if I can keep a stable, like if if I can moderate myself, right, and keep a moderate level uh of my personality, some people are um usually just depressed. Some people are very happy. That's just what they run at. It's like whatever their personality is like uh slim down to, right? And I want to be based with charisma. I want to be based with someone that's able to speak words and have them mean something, but not only mean something, but actually hit hard for the person listening to them. And I think that'll be the next thing that I will work on personally for myself, where I can motivate the mirror, I can talk to myself and completely sell, my ideas, my dreams, and actually believe in myself for once. I always had this issue where, you know, there's like some self-esteem problems that I have of, just believing that I can do something, which I'm, more than capable of actually doing, but I keep second guessing myself. And it actually ends up, with me performing not so greatly. But the main thing I want to focus on here is that if you're coming out of a place of charisma and confidence, then you're automatically set up to, aim and hit your target a lot more easier, right? Whenever you're going, or, this is just for myself, right? But for me personally, every single time I've gone about it a different way, you know, not stemming from charisma or confidence, I always kind of just choke, where it's like, oh, you know, I'm I'm just not capable, or I start getting in my head, which is completely wrong, right? From now on, I am just gonna focus on being charismatic, focus on being positive and optimistic, right? Yeah, you can dive into history, you can dive into politics, you can look at all the evil that's happening in the world, right? We have many different things, happening that are completely evil. And evil is entrenching my life personally, right? With the things we see on the news, with the amount of people that are dying, with the amount of viruses we get, with the amount of bankruptcies we see. Wall Street's always on fire. People are defaulting on their, high interest car payments because it's just a horrible financial decision overall, and people are getting squeezed in this job market, right? Everything is just super negative. And honestly, I don't want to be a person that wants to spread that. I want to be a person that can spread hope, optimism, and confidence, right? Even if I'm driving the ship right off, a waterfall and we're all gonna die, I would at least want to die in the moment, knowing that, okay, I was wrong, but at least, driving the ship here, everyone was confident and everyone was ready to take on whatever the unknown was. And I think in that moment as well, that even if we were to die off of that waterfall, we would still have zero regrets because we didn't die in a cowardice way, and we died on our terms. Where, yeah, we were confident, and even though we were wrong, our conviction wasn't something, uh, you know, that resulted in being a coward. And that's one of the my biggest fears is I don't want to be a coward and I don't want to be a hypocrite. Okay, those are my main two big things. And once I start matching the person that shares those characteristics, I start feeling like a fraud. I start feeling horrible. I start feeling negative. And all these other things just tack on top of it. When none of it is true. I know myself personally, and I know for a fact that I am a charismatic, confident person, and I'm always capable of a job, right? Now, I might not be the fastest, I might not be the smartest, but I know for a fact that I'm a hard worker and I'm a problem solver. I'll be able to solve this problem as long as I'm in the right headspace and I actually believe in myself. And I think for a lot of people, other than myself, need that same motivation. Maybe motivation isn't the same word, but or the right word, but I would say need that train of thought where it's like, hey, I believe in myself, right? I might not be the sharpest person at this because, someone else might have, been training 5 years ahead of me, or, whatever may be the case. Maybe they're just more gifted than you, right? Oh, boohoo, who cares, right? You could try respawning and maybe um, you know be born out of someone else's stomach and maybe roll the dice and see if that happens. Uh, but for the other people that are somewhat contempt and want to continue in this life, right? This message is for you, which hopefully is 100% of my audience. Uh, if you feel any other way, uh, I seriously suggest you getting some sort of professional help in some sort of capacity, uh, not ChatGPT, but uh, back to what I was saying. Follow this train of thought, right? Lead out of charisma. Be a good person, right? Now, this isn't to say you should be delusional, right? We should always be honest with ourselves, right? Because you run into things like the Dunning-Kruger effect. If you don't know what that is, look it up. No, that is wrong. Okay? Confidence, charismatic, great. Have great energy. Be a good person, but also be honest with yourself and with others. Address everything that is wrong, address everything that is, you know, not super pretty, and give hope. Spread your charisma by showing that you have a plan to go over, beyond the problems, right? You're a problem solver, so solve the damn problem. And when people see that you're actively solving a problem, you know, they start giving ideas, right? Because you're motivating, you're making them confident. You're basically transferring your same thought process to them, where it's like, hey, I you know, it was a shit quarter. The quarter just we didn't perform. The sales guys, weren't closing well. The marketing team isn't bringing in as many leads. Something's definitely going wrong here. And I have another solution. And this is why it's going to work. And I 100% believe in this because I did 30 hours of research, and this other company had also fallen into a very similar path, and I know exactly how to get us out of this. Who's with me? Who wants to see this company turn around? Right? I think that if you can, start making the people around you, not necessarily just coworkers, but family, friends, uh, colleagues of any sorts. I truly believe that, you know, life will reward you, because you're providing immense value. And I think people will trust you more because not only are you competent and able to, lead, but also, you have this level of charisma that stems from you, that, at your, moderate, I hate using the word moderate here because I know there's probably a better word for it, but, just like, throughout your day, right? You're working and I just tap you on the shoulder. I'm probably gonna get the person that's just, the regular guy. Not someone that's super extra or, you know, uh, has some sort of extreme uh within their personality. So I want to be able to tap you on the shoulder and you'll just be very charismatic, very happy, right? And I think when people see that, they'll trust you a lot more. Like, oh, Yassine, or yourself, this guy runs cool in his head. Okay, this person is not always stressed. This person knows what he's doing. Why? Because he has peace within his own head. And even if there's a lot of chaos and things aren't straightforward, and whatever path you're going to be taking forward is a waterfall, and you don't know whether it's a 3-foot drop or a 50-foot drop, right? Regardless, I think making a full commitment and hitting the gas all the way is the only way to do it. Yeah, you know, I, and that's after careful planning and strategy. I don't, if you feather the throttle, people are already going to beat you to the finish line. And for me personally, I don't want to live my life that way. No, I want to have strong conviction, and I just want to send it all in. Maybe that's a sort of aspect of degeneracy and gambling. I don't think so. I think that when you have high conviction in an unbiased state, I think it's always worth a shot of going for it. And that's just my opinion. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. uh, I think this is one of the most important videos I have made. uh, Not so much for you guys, but for myself, because I know for a fact I will be revisiting this video and watching it every single time that I feel like, I'm not, my personality isn't stemming from any level of charisma, where I just want to exude, this level of confidence that makes people feel great, and the most important thing for me is I don't want it to be fake. I want it to be legit, where I'm confident for a reason. And yeah, it's as simple as that. Thank you everyone for watching. I'll most definitely have a video tomorrow if nothing comes up that is um, you know out of my way or out of my plans. But yeah, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.